Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk to you guys about what we're going to be watching next, which is for our 420 series. We're going to be watching Kingpin from 1996, the Farrelly Brothers movie starring Woody Harrelson, Randy Quaid, Vanessa Angel, and Bill Murray. This is one of my all-time favorite comedies of all time. I think what's funny is that both of my favorite comedies of the 90s both had something to do with bowling. Fucking weird. It is the movie, those two movies made bowling cool. Or funny at least. It gave bowling something to do. And so I'm going to go do what I got to do for 420. We're going to watch this movie and let's talk about Kingpin, a movie that just does not get brought up enough when people talk about the Farrelly brothers. So, see you guys in a bit. Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. Wow, I said it already. I said it in the intro to the video. Uh-oh, we're already having 420 moments. So I guess I gotta remember I don't have to do that when I have an intro, and then my intro, and then you don't have to intro again. So, anyway, welcome back to the fourth installment of our 420 movie reviews for the month of April, where it is 420 all month long for the only time this will ever happen in at least 100 years. So, I won't be around in 100 years unless that robot brain, the brain in the robot body happens, but we'll table that for now. Also, if you like the content, please don't forget to hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please consider becoming a subscriber to this little channel that we're doing here. Don't forget to hit the bell for all notifications. Share the video with your friends. Let's do this. So, before we get into this movie, because we're going to get into this movie, everybody. Okay, fucking A. What do I think of King? Well, first off, when I saw Kingpin way back when in '96, this was after Dumb and Dumber, but right before There's Something About Mary, I believe. Yes. And Dumb and Dumber is just, it's amazing, right? It's amazing. It is a classic. It's funny that the Farrelly brothers have two of my favorite lines in all of movies in both Dumb and Dumber and Kingpin. And let's just play that right now. Let's just play that line from this movie that is like one of my favorite lines of all time. It's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. Either way, it's beautiful.
Hey Herb, how's life?
Taken forever.
Okay. Ever since I heard that line, that line has been stuck in my head since 1996. And when I say stuck in my head, I don't mean just kind of like lingering around, just comes out when it's needed. It's there a lot. And I don't mean that in some sad way where Rob's always thinking about how life's taking forever. I mean, it's not. But anyway, just like the other line in Dumb and Dumber, when they say, oh god, now I can't remember it. Son of a bitch. We'll get there. both have lines that I think are the best. But people talk about There's Something About Mary. It's the R-rated one. It's the one with the jizz in the hair. And people talk about Dumb and Dumber. People very rarely talk about Kingpin, at least in the circles that I've been running for the past 30-some odd years. We liked Kingpin a lot when it came out. I loved Kingpin. I've seen Kingpin a lot. Um, and I don't understand it unless, because if anything, this one feels like it would be rated R. It's not. It's riding a very fine line of PG-13, but I always feel like pretty much every Farrelly Brothers movie is rated R, and then they just tone down a few things to keep it PG-13. One thing I also really like about their movies is they don't have to rely so much on people just saying fuck. They can have a hilarious, dark, raunchy movie that doesn't have the need to. Now I love saying fuck, but it's cool that these movies still were almost rated R, and they didn't hardly have that that much profanity really. Um, so Kingpin though, I mean, I think another thing is it's darker material. Also, maybe it had to do because of bowling. Maybe bowling hurt this movie. Maybe people were like, why would I go see a bowling movie? But that's like, I think of it now, like, if you didn't go see this movie because it was a bowling movie, well, that's your loss. A lot of people found this movie on DVD. I don't think, I know that this was, I think, a mild success, but nothing near, like, what they were hoping. At least that's how I remember it. But I happen to think that, like, I love Dumb and Dumber, but Kingpin has me laughing, and it's dark, and it holds up. It's got one of the best Bill Murray performances of all time, and so I feel like Kingpin is actually a better movie. There's a few logic problems that I have in this movie, but yeah, like to compare this with Dumb and Dumber is very hard. Very, very hard. Because they're both equally quotable, at least to me. I can quote this movie all day fucking long. And like I said, this has one of the best Bill Murray performances. But like back in '96, I didn't really think of Woody Harrelson as really being that funny. See, even though I love, like, Cheers is my favorite sitcom, I didn't really appreciate Cheers as far as like really getting what they were all saying until I got older. But so Woody kind of actually annoyed me when I was younger. And so I didn't know until '96 how funny Woody Harrelson could be and how he's continued to be over the last 30 years. Dude is got comic timing gold, man. And playing him with Bill Murray against each other, oh my god. Vanessa Angel doesn't get, she's a very, very pretty woman. And she's an alright actress. And I don't think that she ever got a fair shake as far as like getting to see what she could do range-wise. Because she just kept getting cast in things like this where it was just, let's show off her money makers. And while I'm not ashamed to look at her and go, damn, she's put together in all the right spots, it just seems like all she really was in this movie was that sex object while they were trying to give her a brain, okay? I want that to be clear too. They were trying to give her a brain. And make her, like she's smarter than Woody Harrelson. She's smarter than the guys that she works for. She's got able to work people. What she does to get it is a little bit more on, I guess you could say, like nobody wants to slut shame anybody. Like everybody has the right to do whatever they want, right? Unless they're breaking the law or whatever. So, I mean, this character, she's smart and she uses her sexuality to get what she wants. I just almost don't even think the character seems so smart that she didn't really need to be using her sexuality, but we weren't there yet in the '90s where we could make smart people. I mean, we had like Agent Scully shit, but we didn't really have a lot. It seemed to me of like people or enough characters that could get away with that. Like we had like shows like Roseanne. I'm gonna start going into a rabbit hole about this if I don't pull back. Talking about like the characters that Vanessa Angel could have gotten. We went really digging a rabbit hole there. And as far as like this movie is a road movie, just like Dumb and Dumber was, just like There's Something About Mary was. The Farrelly brothers are really good at road movies. I think wasn't even freaking that one with the I think Me, Myself, and Irene's a road movie, and I think freaking the one with Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear, Stuck on You. I think that's a road movie too, isn't it? I don't know. Definitely a motif for their movies. Um, so yeah, before I just get too far down and screwing this up, just a fantastic movie that it follows that great road movie style. Um, I love how it begins with what happens to Woody Harrelson because of Bill Murray, or and kind of like by the end of the movie he figures out that it's kind of his fault too. But really, Bill Murray led this innocent kid down the wrong path, and this happened to him, and he got away with it, and the other guy didn't. But the wow, I keep slipping down rabbit holes here. So let's just start talking about Kingpin. Just a fantastic movie. I was talking about how the road movie starts. Like he does the same thing to Ishmael that was done to him by Bill Murray. I like that it's both of them are kind of like Ahabs looking for their white whale, and for like Munson it would be Ernie, and Ishmael's just kind of along for the ride. And they always go on these grand epic adventures in these. The soundtracks are always pretty good. This one's so 90s. Like but it's not like full on rock and roll. It's in that like kind of middle of the road alternative that's like safe. Sounds like, traveling down Route 66. So anyway, this movie was written by Barry Fanaro and Mort Nathan. And I looked up these guys, and man, I think this is the best thing these guys ever did. But I was also I was actually surprised that this wasn't written by the Farrellys, and maybe that's another thing. It's because I think they wrote some of those other movies themselves. Maybe that's why it feels different. I don't know. But in this movie, so Woody Harrelson, for all you in the cheap seats that haven't seen this movie, and I'm spoiling it all for you, Woody Harrelson plays this guy. It's 1979, and he's like the Ohio like amateur champion. Like he's about to win this thing. Apparently, there's not much going on in this town because they freaking love this guy. Everybody's cheering him out. It's just, I don't know. It's just really weird to see bowling get hoopla. And so he wins, and he's been trained by his dad his whole life. He's got nothing but the future ahead of him. And when he leaves, his nice little family and his nice way of thinking, because his dad likes to instill about, everything you learned in bowling will teach you to be a decent, moral, good man. And then when he meets Ernie McCracken, who here teaches him, like, hey man, what you need to do is supplement your income. This also gives us a couple of just incredible gems. The first being, like, Ernie McCracken really does not know how to talk to waitresses.
The tour can be very difficult, very expensive.
Tanqueray and tap.
Keep them coming, sweets. I got a long drive. Do me a favor, will you? Would you mind washing off that perfume before you come back to our table?
And he really doesn't know how to flirt without being an asshole.
Hi.
Hello.
Not you. Hi.
Hi.
But during that conversation, he teaches Woody Harrelson about supplementing your income and basically going on the road and playing people for money bowling. Apparently that's a thing. People going around hustling each other for bowling money. That's not the strangest thing I've ever heard. That's not the strangest thing I've ever heard. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure. It just seems like something from a long time ago. I just don't, or maybe the Deep South. Sorry, but that's the only other place I could think is like deep South or deep Texas. People just going somewhere like let's bowl for $50 a frame. You know what? I know that this is an everywhere thing. Bowling has got the same amount of gambling as everywhere else, and it doesn't matter if you're from the deep South. I don't think it's just there. Welcome to my reviews, everybody. So he pays the price when they and loses his bowling hand. And I'm telling you, man, like Bill plays this guy. Like I feel like a lot of Bill Murray performances are almost like they're always riding the hero-villain line. Because of the way that he's written, the way his characters are, the smarm and everything. But a lot of his characters could go either way in a lot of ways, and depending on how the story wants him to go. I know that's true for any story. You could do like some kind of crazy right turn and suddenly somebody's a villain. You go, oh no. But I always feel like just naturally, a lot of Bill Murray's characters could just become villains over the course of a story, in like a course of a movie, any movie that we liked. And he could go either hero or bad guy. I mean, I look at movies like What About Bob? Like, I feel like people treat him as like the, misunderstood, whatever. But I feel like that he's really a villain. He just doesn't know it. Things like that, or just little performances where like let's say Venkman just suddenly decided to betray the team or something. It's not wouldn't be out of character. And so in this, you get this guy who's like, he thinks he's a good guy. He thinks he's cool. He thinks he does not think about anyone else, and he does not see himself as the villain. In fact, I think he sees himself as a bit of a victim, even though he's on top. I think that's why, and one of the reasons why he does what he does to people. I think about this character, and I think of him as like this guy who already is naturally good at bowling, right? Ernie McCracken's good at bowling. He's in the future when we catch up to this movie, right, in 1996, and they go on to that bowling championship, he ends up in the top spot against a guy that hadn't played since '79. So Ernie McCracken, at his age that he would be in '96, was able to beat all those people. So he doesn't need to cheat. He doesn't need to do all these awful things, and that's what makes him more awful, is that he has all this talent that he could just be a good person and get all the things that he wants, but he has to do it the sleaziest way possible. He has to tear down other people just because he's his own fears of not being the best, that anyone could possibly be better than him. The vanity of it all. It just, in the way he plays that, to a guy who literally thinks there's that fear underneath that he's going to be found out, or that as soon as his run ends, it's all over. Like, he looks as desperate as Harrelson does in this movie by the end. And I think that it's also funny that the choice that the writers made to basically make the entire world not know how much a piece of shit Ernie McCracken is. Everyone loves him. Even in the commercial where he's so... Well, let's just look at the commercial.
Couldn't help myself. But little Billy's not the only one. There's also a little Jason here. Once again this year, I'll be sponsoring a fatherless family in every city I bowl in.
Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, Mr. McCracken's already there.
Jonathan, we're on a fly pattern all the way to the goal line. Tennessee. Kentucky. Down the beach. Deeper, Jonathan. It's a tough world. These kids nearly got Munsoned, but they're back now. Through the Unified Fund, I found out that if you give a little, you can get back a whole lot more.
I mean, he flips up her whole... Basically, I mean, the way that snapped. Did you see the actress's face? Rewatch that and look at the actress's face as it snaps up. I kind of think she freaked out a little bit. But anyway, nobody even notices that how bad everything that, like how bad Ernie McCracken really is. And that's what makes, this is probably in my top, oh man, I don't know. This is in my top performances of his. Just because he gets to go full-on baddie comedy style. He's been a bad guy before in more serious things. But in a comedy, I feel like this is his best at being a villain. And I don't count the guy from Scrooged. He was just damaged. Also, so Woody Harrelson, we've talked about him a lot, I guess. Vanessa Angel. What we haven't talked about is Randy Quaid. I'm not a giant Randy Quaid fan. I think he plays his roles the way that they give him and the way that they're written. And I think he's a decent actor. I just don't happen to like a lot of his movies. And, what was it? He was in, oh God. Why am I, like Vacation and Christmas Vacation. And I know a lot of people really love that. But I just find him disgusting. I don't like hillbilly characters that much. Independence Day, woof. Everybody was bad in that. But just in general, like, I kind of just never really got into his character. But in this movie, Randy Quaid, the way that they wrote Ishmael and the way he delivers these lines, he is fucking amazing. And I did have a 420 moment when I was looking at him, and I kept thinking, oh my God, he reminds me so much of my recently passed grandfather. And after a while, it was all I could see every time he talked was my grandfather in a blonde Amish wig. Yeah. But no, Randy Quaid was really good in this, and like I said, I don't really like him in much. Yeah, so let's get to so there's when he goes to the Amish country so Woody Harrelson finds Ishmael at a bowling alley. He sees how good he is. He tries to talk him into letting him be his manager. We go out to Reno. We win all this money. They need to help the farm that's going under because there's always the save the farm scenario these days. I just did Babe Pig in the City, right? Yeah, and that was the save the farm situation here. Well, the stuff when they get to the freaking Amish farm is just unbelievable. But before that, Roy gets cornered by his landlady, and he's behind on his rent. He tries to make this fake mugging look real. He throws hot coffee in the guy's face. He gets caught with the guy later when he's paying him, throws coffee in his face again, and ends up having to do this with the landlady.
Oh, my little Roy toy. What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? Guess it's all that pump and dump. You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
So after all of that, and he makes it to the Amish place, there's two scenes here that just are so... Look, I get... If you don't find it funny, I understand completely. Because it's horrifying. Both jokes are horrifying when you imagine them. If you choose to not just go, oh my God, can you imagine? Can you just imagine? The one joke, well, let's just show you what the one joke is.
Hope you don't mind, I got up a little early, so I took the liberty of milking your cow for you. Yeah, it took a little while to get her warmed up. She sure is a stubborn one. Then, pow, all at once.
We don't have a cow. We have a bull.
I'll brush my teeth.
And the other joke is one that I'm not going to show you because it might, I mean, if you think that bothers you, you know, the next joke, if they actually showed this when he gets asked to take the horse's shoes off. And at the time, we need to talk about this while seeing anyway. This is a huge horse. And they tell him to take the shoes off while they go off and talk about how the farm's going to be ending. And they're having this really serious conversation. They're literally looking at the storm clouds rolling in and storms are coming and all this other shit, right? Meanwhile, in the background, you hear him sawing the feet off of this massive horse to take the shoes off because he doesn't know that the hoof and the shoe are separate things. And you just hear sawing and horse screaming in the background, and they don't react to it at all, which is troublesome. But at the same time, like, funny, like, saying that they were so lost in their conversation about how serious losing the farm was, they didn't even notice that he is fucking murdering. I mean, first off, how the hell logistically is he getting that horse to not kick the fuck out of him to get all four of those shoes off? I know it's supposed to be a comedy and it's a gag, but still, the hooves that he shows them later, like, hey, I finally got the shoes off, they're not even bloody. So what the hell? But it was horrifying to listen to, but at the same time I'm laughing so hard because I'm just imagining like the logistics of this going down. Like, what would it have to look like in that barn while this is going on? The other part of this that's not even a part of the joke is that later on they walk by that pen where the horse is still alive after having all four of its feet cut off. And he's really small. And I'm like, if he only cut off his feet, then why is he all of a sudden like 4 feet short? It's just the feet are this big. This horse like lost about 5 feet in height. So there's a few things like that I noticed in the movie that just didn't quite make sense. And there's a few moments where people kind of look at the camera a couple of times. There's a couple of janky shots that feel a little like they ran into the camera. But again, these guys were kind of doing a lot of just kind of stuff on their own. I feel like these were almost like independent movies that were made, were distributed by a studio, but made by guys who were doing it independently almost, even though they get good actors to be in their movie. What else do we got? So the line, "You're on a gravy train with biscuit wheels." Oh yeah, and so yeah, like when he's on the Amish land, yeah, cum jokes don't get grosser or more hilarious. Also the cue when he sleeps with his landlady, and before you don't show them having sex or anything, she gets that thoughtful look on her face after he asks her if there's something else he can do besides pay her money for rent, and they instantly cut to them in bed after sex, and you hear, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." When they want him to, when he hears the dinner bell building the Amish like barn, and he runs from to the dinner bell and lets the wall fall, and they all come at him, and he's like, "You know what the Bible says about not forgiving people?" And they're like, "No, why don't you tell us what the Bible says about not, for like what it says about that?" And he's just like, "It's against it." Because what are they gonna do? Like, I guess they could ask him like, "What's the actual scripture? What's the like actual wording?" I don't know, but it's just so funny. Oh yeah, he's like, "Come on, when he says it's round, has 3 holes, and you stick." He's talking to him about bowling and how he's got this special gift and he goes, "Here's 3 clues to what your special gift is. It's round, has 3 holes, and you stick your fingers in it." He says, "You leave Rebecca out of this." I don't think I understood that when I was even 21. I was 21 when this came out. Motherfucker, I was 21 when this came out. So I don't know if I even understood that joke back then. Because I don't even know if I'd lost my virginity at that point. TMI! Ishmael, Randy Quaid reminds me of my grandpa Cock, yep. Taking a dump in the urinal. I could figure some things out myself. For some reason, why do the cars, I noticed that in Dumb and Dumber, the dog car jumps up out of nowhere, like off a hill that really I don't even think existed. And then in this, they just hard cut to the car like jumping in the air from nothing. I think they just like to do that, like as far as like when somebody's trying to get away or run fast or something. Happy Walters is the guy who's singing in the dive diner bar. I swear to God, I've seen like small town restaurants that look like that. And apparently Happy Walters plays the music there. He did a lot of the music for like There's Something About Mary. There's some joke he makes about like, you know, something about a monkey, and he just, the way Randy Quaid says, "You have a monkey?" Conversations. Let's talk a second about conversations in cars with the top down. This is just going to be a little thing, a little talk about it. But I mean, seriously, I noticed it in this movie that they're talking while the top's down. They're going a pretty good clip. And it looks like they're actually driving. But you hear no kind of wind. You hear no kind of car noise. And I just realized that how often that they just choose to ignore the elements when they film scenes like this in a lot of movies. And I thought to myself, man, just put the fucking hood up then, and then at least it makes sense. I don't know. Again, I think that was a 420 moment that I was having at the time. I like the illusion that the guys that wouldn't fall for her jumping around in her little outfit, you know, that jumping around in those little outfits. They alluded to the fact that they like to fuck sheep. They don't react to her jumping around in those little outfits. But as soon as a sheep comes in, when they bring a sheep in, the guys are all like, "Hey, baby." Randy Quaid, at some point in this movie, you'll notice, is dressed to the nines. But dressed to the nines 90s style in several scenes in this movie. That looks like stuff that I would have worn when I was like 13. But like if I shopped at the big and tall version. Also, apparently you can go home again, but maybe most of the time you probably shouldn't. And that's what I took away from him when he finally heads home. And he's just like, "Oh wow, look, I'm randomly back home, and I just noticed it now. Back in Ocelot, Ohio." Yeah, because it's like he goes home and everything is just torn down. The ice cream stand that his dad worked is overgrown. When you find out that he was so ashamed of himself that he couldn't even come back. Like, he didn't even see his father, and then his father died, and then he didn't go to the funeral. And it's just like look, you can see all this action happening that's going on in there, but I want to know what was going on in there when he was cutting the shoes off. But anyway, like, it's just, you just see like how much this just destroyed him and how much it destroyed his dad. Like, probably would just have forgiven him if he just come home, and the pride thing that he felt. It just was like, wow. It made me think about like this trip I want to take with my sister to go back around some of my old stomping grounds. And I'm like, man, you know what? I really want to go, but I'm also afraid that if I go, I'm just going to get really depressed. I don't know. So, blah, blah, blah. Jefferson's on ice. I met Sherman Hemsley once. He was in the early 2000s. And on a lunch break, me and one of the girls drove down from Wisconsin to Gurnee Mills to just drive off because we had to come back later and I'm not going to get too far into detail into that, but we stopped at a restaurant, and Sherman Helmsley was in the restaurant, and we said hi. And he was a pretty cool guy. The 2 tattoos, I like that he freaks out about the little tattoo, but doesn't see the one on the back with the girl with the huge jugs. Chris Elliott, who is also an acquired taste as far as comedy goes, but definitely a mainstay in Farrelly Brothers movies. Chris Elliott playing the Robert Redford Indecent Proposal parody here, where he has to sleep with Randy Quaid for $1 million after he wins him a bunch of money accidentally at the craps table. And then for a brief second you think that Woody Harrelson went through with it. But it's also funny because Woody Harrelson was in Indecent Proposal, and so the gag works because it's like this time Woody Harrelson says, "Sure, go ahead, take her," and I just walk off with all the money. Would have been a much different movie. Also, let's see, John Popper played the announcer, John Popper being the lead singer of Blues Traveler. Also, here's a huge moment for me. Urge Overkill is in this, playing the national anthem. What the fuck ever happened to Urge Overkill? They were a Chicago-based band, and that's why I kind of care more, I guess. They were here, Pulp Fiction, Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon. They had a great debut album. Then I see them here, and I realize to myself, holy fuck, where the hell did Urge Overkill go? Anyone? The Rose and the Ball. That's a beautiful bowling ball. And there's this moment really quiet right before Roy Munson bowls, right? And it's real quiet. And you hear this guy go, like out of nowhere. Like I had to rewind it and put it in the subtitles, and he says, "Attaboy, Luther." And I'm thinking to myself, Roy Munson, that's not his name. Ernie McCracken, that's not his name. So I wonder if that was like something that they let somebody throw in that meant something private, like a secret message to somebody out there, and they just kept it in for anybody who could pick it up or read it in their subtitles. Just thought that was really interesting, and I don't think I'd ever caught that before watching this movie, for reasons. And then I talked about Big Earn, pretty good at his age. The 7-10 split. Like, if bowling had a cliche, I guess it'd be the 7-10 split. Big Earn trying not to laugh at Roy, like, basically, like, not having a hope. Him just sitting there, like, trying not to laugh at him. It was also a really interesting choice to let the game be decided by the villain. Normally, that tension is mounted for, like, the free throw shot by the guy who, we just need one more free throw. You got the first one, right? Good, yay. All you need to do is make that second free throw and you won the game, right? You tied it up or some bullshit. And instead, what they do is they let Roy, our hero, tie up in the game with him. Jesus Christ. Phrasing! And let Ernie win it on his own. And he does. He just wins it on his own. And I thought that that was really an interesting way to put it, because the game's just over and they lost. I don't know if we've ever seen it really from the villain's perspective before. I mean, we do get an amazing performance out of Bill Murray at the end of this. I mean, talking about how, buy my way out of anything, finally Big Earn's above the law. I can do whatever I want, just get a lawyer and I get off. It's like, dude, you only made $1 million. Didn't you see how much it cost back in '96 for OJ to get away with whatever? Wow. I'm sorry. I took the year '96, tried to think of something relevant. I apologize if anybody got offended just then. I really do. I really apologize. Holy shit. Sometimes I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth. And especially when I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Let's kind of wrap this up then. But I did also like that there's a really interesting touch at the end of this movie that if you're not really paying attention, you'd miss. And I know that the content you really think about, because they talk about a lot of things in the conversation, but when Roy is confronted by Claudia's ex-boyfriend, who's also in like every Farrelly Brothers movie, he says, I'm not friends with Big Earn. Big Earn did this. Oh, is that made out of solid gold? There's a lot of running gags between the ring, people not noticing the ring and people not noticing the hand. Well, he throws Big Earn under the bus, and they say, let's go talk to Big Earn, because there's a whole 14 phone calls from Claudia's number to him. And so they kind of really quietly say they're going after Big Earn, and she brings it up later on. She left those phone calls so that he would get some payback. But we never see the payback. It was something that I really wanted to see, but I liked knowing that he thought he got away with it. And now he's got these pretty nasty customers after him. And then, everybody just the hero loses. The Ishmael gets taken home by his brother. I mean, they fail, and then they succeed in the end anyway. Vanessa stole her ex's money, who bet against them, so they had all that money there. Then Roy gets a $500,000 check from Trojan Condoms to do the rubber man thing and just go around and talk to people and do commercials. And so they give the money to Ishmael's family. They save the farm. And then Blues Traveler plays, but anyways, in the cornfield to a bunch of Amish people. And then Roy and Claudia make out in the car. And both Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray's hair defy gravity. And I wonder if they were trying to outdo each other for the most fucked up, crazy comb-over hairstyles that you could possibly think of. Because they are gorgeous. The makeup on their head, the wigs on their head deserve to be fucking characters. That was Kingpin. It is a fantastic goddamn movie. I really felt that I really didn't know if I could be able to watch this without having a little 420 action going on. And I'm glad I did, because I really needed to laugh. I was going to do Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas tonight, but I needed something funny, something that wouldn't make me, think too hard. I might save that one for a day off. But anyway, I hope you guys liked listening to me talk about Kingpin as many times as I went off on my own tangents. But that's what happens when you kind of do your reviews like this. When you decided to make 420 movie reviews, and pretty much your entire audience knows that you're a little... So, subscribe, find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. Otherwise, we'll be back with our 5th movie in just a couple of days. So, have a great night, everyone. If you've not seen Kingpin, do yourself a favor and go watch it immediately. Bye.